Hello and welcome to another standard gameplay video on the official MTG Arena channel. The footage you're about to see was recorded during the early access event for March of the Machine, so thank you to Wizards for providing me with a fully unlocked account to preview the new set. Today's deck is 4-color Dragons, which introduces a bunch of new cards from March of the Machine, such as Zurgo and Ojutai, a 5-mana 4/4 legendary Orc Dragon with Flying, Haste, and Hexproof as long as it entered the battlefield this turn, so it has a bit of built-in protection, which is always nice, and whenever one or more dragons we control deal combat damage to a player or battle, we get to take a look at the top 3 cards of our library, put one of those into our hand and the rest on the bottom, and then we may return one of those dragons to its owner's hand. So after hitting the opponent for 4 and drawing an extra card, we can pick up Zurgo and Ojutai again, so the opponent won't have a chance to remove it in their turn. So a very nice creature to keep playing over and over again. And then our other payoff for having a lot of dragons is Rith, a liberated primeval 5-mana 5/5 legendary dragon with flying and ward 2, saying other dragons we control also have a ward 2, and at the beginning of our end step, if a creature or planeswalker an opponent controlled was dealt excess damage this turn, we get to make a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. So Rith pairs quite nicely with burn spells that deal a lot of damage, and we've got a few of those in the deck, including the new battle at 2 mana. There's Invasion of Tarkir, which when it enters lets us deal X damage +2 to any target, where X is the number of dragons we managed to reveal from our hand. So we can easily have 2 or 3 dragons in our hand, in which case Invasion of Tarkir can potentially deal 4 or 5 damage early on in the game, and then later we can still maybe deal excess damage to an opposing creature to make that extra dragon token. And then the battles, of course, introduce a new mechanic on the battlefield. Once the battle's in play, the opponent will protect it and kind of functions as a planeswalker whose loyalty we're trying to decrease. In this case, it's defense counters, and once we remove the last defense counter on Invasion of Tarkir, starting with 5, then we get access to the Defiant Thundermaw, a 4/4 dragon with flying and trample, and whenever any dragon we control attacks, we get to deal 2 damage to any target. So this is another great payoff for having lots of dragons on the battlefield, as they now will all deal 2 extra damage, which is incredibly powerful. And then our final payoff for having lots of dragons is Rivaz of the Claw, a 3-mana 3/3 Vaishino Warlock, so not a dragon itself, has Menace, can tap adding 2 mana in any combination of colors that we can spend to cast dragon creature spells, so that can help fix our mana for some of our off-color dragons, as well as just ramp them out. And then we can also once each turn replay a dragon from our graveyard, and then when this creature dies, exile it instead, which is actually quite synergistic alongside Zurgo and Ojutai. If they somehow do end up in the graveyard, maybe we discarded it earlier in the game, then we can still replay it, hit the opponent, draw a card, pick it back up, and then if we put it back into our hand, it loses that drawback that Rivaz grants to our dragons if we replay them from the graveyard, so there's some excellent synergy there as well. And then we've got some other dragons, including Shivan Devastator, which we can play at any point in our curve with flying and haste and a number of +1/+1 counters on it. And then we've got one Blazing Sky, a 4/4 flying trample. When it dies, we either get to make 3 treasure tokens or exile the top 2 cards of our library that we get to play until our next turn. And then there's the Capricious Hellraiser, a 4/4 flyer that can potentially replay spells from our graveyard when it enters a battlefield. So those are all quite nice to be able to ramp out with Rivaz. And then the rest of our deck has a lot of removal, including 2 copies of Play with Fire. At 2 mana there's a new Volcanic Spite, can deal 3 damage to a creature, planeswalker, or battle, and then we can put a card from our hand on the bottom of our library if we do draw a card, giving us a bit of card selection, can maybe get rid of a redundant legendary creature we have in hand. And then we've got a nice mix of removal spells here. A Braid can deal 3 to a creature or destroy an artifact. Edict can maybe make the opponent sacrifice a planeswalker, and then Go for the Throat can destroy target non-artifact creature. And then at 3 mana I'm also playing 2 copies of Nahiri's Warcrafting, which deals 5 damage to a creature, planeswalker, or battle. And then if we dealt excess damage, we get to take a look at the top X cards, where X was the excess damage, and then exile one of those cards that we get to play until the end of our turn. So we can potentially exile a land and play it, or in the late game exile one of our spells and still cast it in the same turn. So it can be a nice 2-for-1, and also synergizes nicely with Invasion of Tarkir, which has 5 defense counters. So going turn 2 Invasion, turn 3 Warcrafting already gives us a turn 3 Thundermaw, which can start attacking and dealing extra damage. And then last but not least, 4 copies of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, which can also potentially ramp out some of our multicolored dragons, thanks to the Shaman token making treasures. And then the card selection on Chapter 2 can also maybe fill the graveyard to replay dragons with Rivaz later in the game, and our Reflection of Kiki-Jiki especially nice alongside Capricious Hellraiser as a non-legendary dragon that has a nice enter the battlefield ability. And then our mana base is somewhat complicated, but we have the help from Secluded Courtyard naming dragon to help fix for our various 5-mana dragons. Tons of trial lands here as well, which we can play tapped early in the game, and then some more dual lands to round things out. And as you can see, we're mainly a red-black deck, since we need to be able to cast some of our black removal spells and Rivaz early, and then later in the game we just need a few off-color lands to be able to cast Zurgo and Rith. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play, and our hand seems keepable. Can lead with a lounge. And then we're probably looking at a turn 3, either Fable or Rivaz. Opponent's blue-white. Alright, now that we drew Rith, we can go for Rivaz to try and cast it next turn. Fairy Mastermind, end of turn. Can draw the opponent extra cards and a wedding announcement. Okay. So we can go ahead and play Rith. And then next turn, Volcanic Spite can deal excess damage, which will net us a dragon token. Opponent considers. And thanks to the War 2, our opponent's unlikely to be able to answer our dragon. Ooh, Warcrafting could be nice too. So let's see here. This triggers at the beginning of our end step, so it's not like we can also trigger it in the opponent's end step here. But I'm down to maybe Volcanic Spite and play Fable. And then at this point get rid of the Edict, perhaps. Opponent does get to draw, and we'll get to attack. Fading Hope, alright, I guess that's the one answer here. They can pay the ward, and I don't have the mana to replay, so that was pretty effective. Can try again next turn. Alright, no play from our opponents. And we can get rid of Proving Grounds, and that's probably it. Alright, so let's say we play Invasion, dealing 3 damage by revealing Rith, and then we can still play it. And that way we'll have dealt excess damage. Could also use the Warcrafting to transform or Invasion. So we've got a couple options. Possible our opponent's keeping up a counterspell. But I'm gonna give it a shot. It's gonna be a Wandering Emperor. Can exile Rivaz. But we'll still get to make our dragon token end of turn. Can hang on to Xander's Lounge maybe to cycle. And then, sure, we'll attack Emperor. Even though we could hang on to the Shaman to eventually have something to copy with Reflection. Opponent lets it go anyway. Okay. Make a dragon. And then Warcrafting could transform our battle, or we can just attack it down. And keep this to both draw a card if we deal excess damage and make an extra dragon. Nothing from our opponent once again. Yeah, let's try this. And then Rith can go after the invasion. Dragon token can go face. Spectral adversary can phase out their creature here. Okay. I guess we'll just abrade the adversary itself at this point. We'll still get to make an extra dragon. And attack. The upside of transforming invasion with the warcrafting would have been getting the Thunder Maw, and then when our dragons attacked, I would have been able to deal 4 damage right away. So maybe that was still better, also would have played around something like adversary. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. Our hand's got potential if Rivaz survives to ramp out Zurgo, and then we've got a turn to either invasion or edict. Yeah, let's hang on to the edict. Nothing so far. If Rivaz dies, we're in a bit of trouble. Opponent on a Junt deck. And it's going to be Invasion of Argamon to make a treasure and draw. That's fine. And Asgol to make a sacrifice. That's too bad. Rivaz down. But did find another dragon we can play at least. And if this one dies, we can make treasure to cast Zurgo. Okay, it's going to be a raptor, which we can trade for. Otherwise it would have transformed into one of their battles. And let's make treasure. Alright, found a blue mana as well. So only need to sacrifice 1 treasure. Question is whether we Invasion of Tarkir just on the opponent here first. Which might be worth it. Although it does mean having to use an extra treasure. So yeah, let's just attack. And then it may be worth it to pick up Zurgo again to play around sorcery speed removal. Found Rith, perfect. Yeah, let's pick up Zurgo. And pass it back. If they play another Raptor, we've got the Edict at the ready. It's going to be an Invasion of Regatha instead. Can finish off the 4 defense counter battle. And a Harvester. Okay, I don't think I need to use my treasure for edicts. Instead we can play Rith and deal excess damage. Does mean I have to use both my treasure tokens here, so wouldn't necessarily be able to replay Zurgo going forward, but we would be pretty far ahead on board, so that may still be worth it. Yeah, let's go for it. Could also go face. And then can just play Zurgo and Ojutai. Deal another 4. Maybe dig for the missing mana. Sundown Pass will do. And can pick up Zurgo again. So next turn another Invasion's lethal. Opponent will get to play a Raptor here and transform another battle. But yeah, that's the advantage of playing Invasion in a Dragon deck, consistently being able to deal more damage with it. GG's. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. Our hand seems promising. Early removal, turn 3 Fable, hopefully ramp out our dragons. We've got white mana, just missing blue for Zurgo. Well, let's see what we're up against. Esper. Do we want to invasion here? Could be worth it. Just to get the ball rolling. Sure. Reveal 2 dragons, that's 4 damage. Okay, Skrell's Hive. So maybe a token sacrifice deck with a bunch of Phyrexians. We get to play Fable. And now with the Courtyard we can cast our Zurgo on 5. Ooh, a Monastery Mentor definitely needs to be answered. And we've got the answer at the ready here with Play with Fire. So I'll keep all my cards. And then attack with the Shaman. If they want to trade, that's fine. But I suspect I'll take it. And then next turn we've got a few options, including Hellraiser if we need to get back Play with Fire. Zurgo still draws if we damage our battle, which may be the move here. So this goes face, this goes after invasion. And we'll pick up Zurgo and Ojutai. Finding another Play with Fire. And then we should have plenty on the battlefield already. So this feels a bit safer in case of a board wipe. Opponent discarding an array, that's not bad. They can take a look at our hand and make Zurgo more expensive. So that's exiled, now costing 7 mana. And invasion to get back something from the graveyard. It's going to be a Mentor. That's fine. Is our opponent dead? Kinda looks like it. Can copy Thundermaw. Replay Zurgo. And now we're gonna get a ton of triggers from Thundermaw. Yeah, that's gonna be GG's. Can finish off Mentor in the process. Awesome. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play, and our hand has potential. We even have all the colors to cast Zurgo if we get to 5 mana. And with a Rivaz we could potentially make that happen on turn 4. Opponent on an enchantment deck. Can Play with Fire here if necessary. Invasion of Argamon, okay. Opponent makes a treasure, can discard and draw. And then we'll give Rivaz a try over Fable maybe. Although it's still a close call. Yeah, sure, let's go for Rivaz. This on Dragon. And then next turn I could even Play with Fire alongside Zurgo, with Rivaz making 2 mana. Alright, never mind, Warcrafting kills Rivaz. So time for Fable. And then we can just cast Zurgo next turn, which still works. And then we're probably going to pick it back up to play around sorcery speed removal like another Warcrafting. Kogla and Yidaro, nice answer to Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Getting to draw in the process. But let's get in for 6. And we can pick up our own Warcrafting if we'd like. Okay. So yeah, if our opponent doesn't have a very specific answer, they wouldn't be able to get rid of Zurgo. They might have their own invasion of Tarkir to make a dragon, which we can easily kill with our burn spells. Alright, we can play our own invasion here to deal some extra damage while we have Zurgo in hand. That sounds good. Could have also gone for the Warcrafting to transform our own invasion. But we'll give this a try. And I'm just gonna go face for now. Okay, we get to connect, points at 5. So double play with fire gets them to 1. And another invasion should close out the game. Opponent's got something end of turn. Another Kogla and Yidaro. Sure, let's play with fire here. Land on top is fine. And that also denied their draw step. Ooh, opponent hit an Itali. So gets rid of our mountain on top of our deck. Finds a Warcrafting and a Commune with Spirits. Still not going to be enough. They know about Zurgo next turn, and that's game. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand has the potential of going Invasion of Tarkir and then Warcrafting to transform it, but only 2 lands feels a bit sketchy. And they also come into play tapped, so would need an untapped land on turn 2 to be able to curve Invasion into Warcrafting. So we'll take a mulligan. This seems better. And then... yeah, could get rid of the Warcrafting. Turn 2 go for the throat. Turn 3 Rivaz, hopefully play Rith. Or I can keep the Warcrafting to enable Rith. Even though our hand's going to be a bit slower. So their opponent playing black, black-white, and a Jadar on 2. Okay, can play with fire Jadar, although may as well wait to see if our opponent plays a more scary creature we want to take out. Alright, let's just go for it now, I guess. Play Rivaz, don't expect it to survive, but if it does, would be setting up Rith next turn. Rivaz down. Okay, so we're looking at a 3-3 Devastator. With Thalia and Gidrog. Okay, so we can Warcrafting, take that out, and let's see here. Exile one of those cards and play the exiled card. So if we exile a land, I can still play it. That would be the dream. And we did. Awesome. So next turn we can play Rith. And then follow that up with a Devastator. Conduit can get back their permanents. Quite good with the fetch lands. But hopefully we can make a bit of progress. Hellraiser's nice too. So now for a point where to replay Gitrog Monster, we can Hellraiser, get back Warcrafting. And that would also make us a dragon token end of turn. So that should line up quite nicely. I guess our land does come into play tapped because of Thalia and the Gitrog, so that's not quite gonna work out. Can Invasion, I suppose, deal 4 damage to finish off Thalia and the Gitrog. And then just play a Devastator here. And then next turn I'll be able to make that play. And I suppose we'll transform our battle. Okay, and now with the Thundermaw, we'll be able to take out the Gitrog monster quite easily by just attacking with our dragons. So hoping to avoid a sweeper effect here. Companion to draw is fine. And a Consuming Blob is a 3/4. Still dies to the Warcrafting. And of course to the Thundermaw. So that should be fine. Can't quite kill the opponent here with all our dragons if we go face. So let's make sure we answer the blob. And then I guess we'll decline since I wouldn't be able to play Fable. Just gonna go face and ignore the companion with the last trigger. Opponent's at 9. And we get to make a dragon token, so all according to plan, but a board wipe could still get us. Invoke Despair's fine. Sacrifice Devastator. And a Ren and Realmbreaker should be fine too. Okay. Dragon's getting it done. In style. And we'll take out Ren on the way out, sure. I'll spare the companion. Awesome. Alright, so we got to see our 4-color Dragons deck in action, and I was quite impressed especially by Zurgo and Ojutai. Being able to pick it back up to play around a removal on the following turn can make it quite difficult for some decks to answer it, and then Invasion of Tarkir also played quite well in this deck when we can often deal 4 damage with it, and then once we transform it, it can easily decimate the opponent's board. So maybe going forward I could see a deck that's maybe just Jeskai colors, blue, red and white, that plays Invasion alongside Zurgo and Ojutai, but maybe forgoes some of the other dragon synergies. So yeah, that'll do it for today's gameplay. Wanna thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.